Welcome to the Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast, presented by Vox DFS Firelines. Now, here are your hosts, Justin.
Stephon Gilmore go to the Patriots. Now they let Mike Gillislee go to the Patriots. Are they now just the farm club within their own division?
Greg.
He's one of these faux leading women. It's like, that's not Angelina Jolie or Jennifer Aniston. It's some girl that I would see at the Circle K. That's kind of Alshon Jeffrey.
And Ryan.
There is absolutely no reason why O.J. Howard should be drafted before Cameron Brate. Welcome to another Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan Skullroot, and with me tonight is my brother Justin. And tonight should be a fun night. We're going to dive into the matchups for Week 2. We're going to dive into about half of them, cover the second half of the league tomorrow. We've got Justin's got some interesting keep trade cuts that we're going to work on tonight, and he's going to let me kind of work through. He's really got some fun ones or irritating ones. It depends on how you feel about some of those. There's not really a whole lot of news, but we got a little bit of that. Then we're going to see what we've got going with the matchups this week. Real quick, we want to give a quick shout out to Vox DFS Firelines, our title sponsor. They are a premier DFS lineup provider and consultant agency. I am actually one of the NFL line writers. We've actually done pretty well over Week 1. And so make sure to go over to Vox DFS Firelines. That's Vox, VOKS, DFS.com. Let them know that the guys from Skull King Football sent you over there so that we can so that they can know who sent them. And again, if you're looking for some help with your DFS lines, they're an awesome way to go. Plus, they also just started up a section of their website for sports betting, all done legally. Just so you know, they've got everything set up to do that, and give you the tips that you need to be able to do your sports betting. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Real quick, we talked last night about the Ravens running back Danny Woodhead. He is expected to be out roughly 4 to 6 weeks. On the bright side, he'll be back this season, probably only for another couple games before he gets injured again. The official word came down that that David Johnson will be out. Is expected to be out 2 to 3 months with wrist surgery. It looks like I haven't seen official word, but I've seen rumors are that the Cardinals are going to re-sign. How'd you describe him last night, Justin? CJ AOL?
Yes. And everyone under 25 has no idea what that means.
Okay, so AOL is dial-up speed. So the
ding ding ding.
When it takes like a minute and a half to 2 minutes to load up a web page, that's about the speed that Chris Johnson has at this point. So
when internet used to come on a disc, before Twitter, before Facebook, before MySpace, before Friendster. Dropping some old references here, but
there we go. Yeah. All right. So
one question I want to get to really quickly as we're on the David Johnson thing. This is difficult for a lot of owners because a lot of leagues, he's your can't cut player. And if you're in a league, unfortunately, that does not have an IR spot, 1, shame on your commissioner. 2, are you looking to try and offload him for a body that will be of value to play to try and pawn him off to someone who thinks that they can keep him long enough for a playoff run?
At this point, he may not even be healthy until the playoffs. And then once he's back, he could possibly only be eased into action. So if you can get something for him to actually help for the rest of the season, that's not a bad idea.
In a redraft league.
In a redraft league?
Yes.
I mean, as far as dynasty goes, yeah, you're going to hold on to him. You just, you got to
Bite the bullet.
and just do what you can while he's out. So
Is Danny Woodhead droppable? Are you still stashing him?
he's droppable.
Okay.
Remember, I didn't draft him.
Yeah.
This year,
Yeah.
first time in 4 years, I did not draft him because I thought that he's getting to the point where the injuries are going to keep mounting up.
I know, but a lot of people still believe in the Danny Woodhead of old. I didn't draft him either. I did look to try and get him in one of my drafts, but he was taken literally the pick just before me in the 5th round. Dodged a bullet. And so I don't know if I would drop him because I may still feel, obviously, roster construction, everyone is going to be going hard after running backs in the waiver wire order. So if you are not top 4, the likelihood of you getting a quality running back in waiver wires this week is highly unlikely because running backs are going to go first, then receivers.
Yep. All right. Man, okay. Sorry, I'm doing a little research for this next story. That Joe Flacco mentioned Michael Campanaro as someone who could step up and fill the void created by Danny Woodhead.
How deep into the web did you have to try and find him?
Does anyone other than a Baltimore Ravens fan even know who Michael Campanaro is? The answer, probably not.
Well, Adam Schefter, probably. And then
Ian Rappaport.
Probably. And then I can't believe that my brain is freezing. But the guy based out of here in Seattle used to work for...
John Clayton.
John Clayton knows exactly who he is. He's got 1,000 hours of Mike Campanaro on, or however you pronounce his name, in his database, and he's probably watched every minute 20 times. So,
all right. So here's Michael Campanaro. Career has 12 games, 13 kickoff returns for 152 yards, or maybe that's punt returns. He's listed as a wide receiver, 5'9", 192 pounds. He's played all 4 years with Baltimore. Yeah. 4 games, 3 games, and then so far 1 game this year. He's had a total of 12 receptions, 137 yards in those 4 years. And let's see. Yeah, I mean 6 rushes for 91 yards. So obviously he ran a couple of big ones off, 39 yards. So he has not, I mean, I believe Buck Allen to be more valuable than Michael Campanaro at this point.
Yeah, we'll just leave it there. I don't want to give him too much airtime unless we want to put him in the title of the show.
This hurts me. Texans placed C.J. Fedorowicz on injured reserve after he sustained another concussion. Was it something like 3 concussions in 4 weeks or something like that?
I know it's at least 2. Even 2 in 3 weeks is something that is very, very concerning. The league is very, very cautious right now with the concussion issue, as they should have been the entire time. I think this is an unfortunate, but this is a good move for health and safety of Fedorowicz. He was primed to have a pretty good year with Deshaun Watson as the quarterback. He's going to be out for 6 weeks. Get him some rest. Hopefully get him his brain a rest. And then when he comes back, he will be a waiver wire pickup upon return.
Is he? Well, have they put him on 8-week injured reserve? Designated to return, or is he out for the season?
It says injured reserve, so I believe that he will be coming back. This early in the season, I doubt that they're going to keep him out for the entirety of the season.
I don't know. It's possible.
I doubt that they would put that kind of designation this early. Stick with the 6 week. If in 6 weeks it's still not ready, then you can extend it.
Yeah.
He's better than anybody on your practice squad.
Yeah. All right. Texans QB Deshaun Watson is already taking reps with Houston's first string offense at today's walkthrough practice and has officially been named the starter. We talked about this last night. It only took one half for Deshaun Watson to take over as the quarterback. We'll kind of talk about, because he's in the Thursday night game, we'll kind of talk about in a little bit what we think is possibly going to transpire in that game. So
one thing to note here, even though Deshaun Watson is the starter, it was just a couple years ago where they went back and forth between starters like every game. So just because Deshaun Watson has been named the starter does not mean that the coaching staff is set on that. They've had split personality disorder before, and you may see Tom Savage rotate through every quarter. Who knows? But right now, Deshaun Watson is at least guaranteed the first drive in the next game.
All right, Colts signed running back Matt Jones to the practice squad. That's just a depth thing. We already talked about Chris Johnson to the Cardinals. And the Indy Star's Zach Kiefer reports the Colts are, quote, considering making Jacoby Brissett their starter for week 2. That tells you just how bad Tolzien was, that a guy that they just brought in for depth from New England, they're considering starting him. Now, let's be honest. Brissett performed very well in the absence of what ended up being both Brady and Garoppolo last year. But he also was in a system with Bill Belichick that didn't require him to have to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, considering that the Colts defense is trash, really that whole team is trash.
Well, I don't know if you could get worse than Tolzien did.
True.
We're talking about a historic loss, a loss that has people wondering why Kaepernick isn't in the league, and I don't want to get on that.
Yeah, we're not going to jump on that.
But if the Colts want to salvage their season, they can't start Tolzien again.
No.
We'll put it that way.
Yep. All right, and that was it for tonight's news and notes. So, do we want to get in the keep trade cuts right now, and then go into the
I think we should. I think we should. We should go there because then we'll talk about matchups for the Thursday night game, and then get into kind of who we like, and then we'll cover the rest of the games on tomorrow's episode. So as we get into this, I'm going to let you pick the position group that you want to do the keep trade cut on first. We have tight end, we have quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and we also have a defense for fun. Kickers, you're not looking to trade or cut unless you get very, very creative with your trades, and you're looking to trade to the guy who just lost Sturgis from the Eagles, who I'm looking to try and leverage as a kicker. But pick a position, and then we'll go from there.
tight end, because I know this is well, you know what? No, we're going to save that one for the end because that one was a fun one.
That one's a fun one.
Let's go quarterback.
We'll go quarterback. So we've got 2 here. And I'm going to start with the more intriguing one.
Okay.
Because this has implications of some guys that are on the edge for a lot of guys. And we're going to go Goff, Kaiser, and Taylor. Of those 3, who do you keep? Who are you looking to trade away? And who are you looking to flat out drop?
So Goff, Kaiser, and Tyrod Taylor.
They're all intriguing. All have upside after week 1. Taylor, obviously a more known commodity. Goff had a great week 1. Granted, it was against the Colts, but he has a new offensive system with a new coach. And Kaiser there for the Browns with some solid weapons around him if they don't drop the ball.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to go. God, this one's ridiculous. I'm gonna have to go. Keep Taylor. Trade Kaiser and cut Goff.
Okay, so I'm a little surprised at the Goff. Why are you cutting Goff?
Because he still has the Seahawks to play twice. It's one game.
Yep.
That he has had so far.
And anyone who watched the HBO special last year of training camp for the Rams, you know exactly why you're cutting Goff.
So yeah, so I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not. One game, okay, against.
Yep.
And who did they beat?
The Colts,
The Colts.
who may be competing for the first draft pick, and the Jets are very upset. We'll go to the other quarterbacks. These are all more than likely on teams, or is the number one waiver wire pickup, which kind of gives one away. We're going to go Russell Wilson, Eli Manning, and Bradford. Of those three, who are you keeping? Who are you looking to trade away? And who are you looking to flat out cut?
I'm cutting Eli. that one's easy.
You're cutting Eli.
I'm cutting Eli. Because I believe that Russell Wilson's mobility makes him a little bit more attractive for fantasy purposes. Yet now, don't get me wrong, they're both offensive lines for those two guys are god awful. Both offensive lines are horrible.
Yep.
But I believe that Wilson showed he was able to get through those and run when needed. And Eli Manning, while the offensive line was horrible, he also just was flat out missing all of his wide receivers. So I would.
And there's no. We still don't know about OBJ.
Correct.
And the likelihood of him playing on Sunday. So this week, obviously, that also helps push him down. Which, ironically enough, Greg's not here. Greg would probably have.
He would cut
kept
Wilson.
Bradford look to trade Manning and cut Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I would. Well, here I only did my cut, so I would cut Eli. I would trade Bradford.
Yep.
Because his value,
will his value get any higher?
His value is high right now, and then keep Wilson. So.
Okay, so moving on, wide receiver, running back, or defense.
Let's just get defense out of the way.
Okay, so here we're going with a lot of hype right out of the gate.
Okay.
The Rams, the Jaguars, or Houston. For the rest of the season, who are you looking to keep? Who are you looking to trade? Who are you looking to cut?
All right. The Rams, the Jags, and the Texans. I am probably looking to cut the Rams, keep the Texans, and trade the Jaguars. Because I believe that the Jags have a lot of potential. But in my opinion, they had a little bit of an easy game going up against Tom Savage in week 1. And so I think that increases their notability right now. And I would, if no one really trades defenses, but if you could, Justin trades defenses.
I can stream whoever I want off the waiver wire. So if that seals a deal, let's go for it.
So yeah, I think I would trade the Jags and keep Houston. I don't think this is the end of Houston. I just think that a little bit of a rough game for them. So
now wide receiver, running back.
Wide receiver.
We'll go with some interesting ones that are right on the cusp of waiver wire additions / deep bench options. Alan Hearns,
Okay.
Marquise Lee, or Kendall Wright.
Ugh. Really don't want any part of any of them, to be completely honest. But for the sake of this game, I keep Marquise Lee, I trade Alan Hearns, and I cut Kendall Wright. Because Marquise Lee was already ahead of Alan Hearns in the depth chart. Not that the depth chart really matters. Alan Hearns has shown to be productive in the past, and therefore, that wasn't all that long ago that he had, pretty good season. So I think that's a possibility that people would be thinking, oh, well, obviously it's going to be Hearns. He's had more. And then Kendall Wright, Kendall Wright still has Mike Glennon as his quarterback. I mean, not that the other two are any better with Blake Bortles, but I think the emergence of Tariq Cohen helps. They're going to try to stick it, just keep the ball to the backfield. It's going to be Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen passing as little as possible. So,
moving on to our other wide receiver one. These guys were all taken around the top. Had mediocre to pedestrian opening weeks. In a keep trade cut, we have Brandon Cooks, Terrell Pryor, and AJ Green. Making it a little bit more challenging for you. Who are you keeping? Who are you trading? Who are you cutting?
Okay, so it's Cooks, Pryor, and AJ Green. God, Andy Dalton looks so awful. I really think that in terms of Brandon Cooks, it's just a matter of getting the timing down with Tom Brady. I think they'll be able to figure that out. He hasn't had a whole lot of time with him yet, so I can see him getting it together. AJ Green is still handcuffed by the fact that it's Andy Dalton. However, Andy Dalton only targets AJ Green. And Terrell Pryor, God, he got so many targets. Terrell Pryor, 11 targets. And he dropped like 2 or 3 of them. Still had 6 catches for 66 yards. I am probably trading. Oh, God, this is hard. I'm going to trade AJ Green because he's a bigger name. And people will want him, thinking that he's going to bounce back. I'm going to keep Terrell Pryor and trade and drop.
You're going to
cut Brandon Cooks.
Yeah,
and people are going to think I'm nuts for that, but I still believe Terrell Pryor is the number one receiving option for Kirk Cousins. That was proven this last week with how much he was targeted. So,
yeah, I would agree completely with your selections there. Pryor and Green are the number one wide receiver options. I think Gronk is still the number one option there, but you had what is arguably one of the best defensive performances I have ever seen in coverage by Barry on Gronk, just because of the size. I mean, Barry's a big guy, but Gronk is still Gronk.
Yep.
And was able to basically take Gronk out of the game.
Yep.
And Cooks, they failed to match up on some deep bombs, which could connect on, but still Cooks is not the number one option. Pryor and Green still are.
Yeah, as long as Danny Amendola is there with Edelman out, Danny Amendola is going to be the top slot guy. So,
which was case in point in the Thursday night game of last week.
Yep.
Moving on to our running back selections. We're going to go with a very, very interesting one right out of the gate here because all 3 of these are on the same team.
This is the fun one. Yeah.
One was incredibly angry, which does not bode well for his chances throughout the rest of the season. I think when a player starts screaming, production goes down because coaches don't want to hear it. But Ingram Peterson and Kamara, apparently, as it was said throughout Monday night, as it's supposed to be pronounced. Who are you keeping? Who are you cutting? Who are you trading?
I am keeping Alvin Kamara. I am trading. Oh, geez.
Which one has more value?
Yeah, which one actually has? Do you trade on the name of AP or do you trade the actual production of Ingram in a offense that forces the running backs to catch the ball, which AP doesn't do?
So here's a question: in PPR, which is what we primarily focus on.
Yeah.
We'll go there because I think it's different.
That makes it so much easier.
In standard.
So I'm keeping Kamara. I am cutting AP because we have been telling everyone to not even go after AP in the first place, and then I trade Ingram.
You trade on the hype or the perceived notion of the name. Interesting enough, they committed to the running backs a lot.
Yes,
that game in terms of targets and as well as running the ball.
Correct, they did.
They did have a couple of linemen out on the left-hand side, which made things a little bit more difficult. But moving on to the next keep, trade, cut in the running back position, all of these guys were also taken around the same area. I was not the biggest fan of any of these, save one, but Carlos Hyde, Todd Gurley, and Lamar Miller. Who are you keeping, trading, and who are you cutting? All three of these guys.
You can't cut all three.
One of us were very high on to begin with. I probably like Miller the most. Completely disappointed in Gurley this last week, as he was primed to just run over the Colts, and he didn't.
Yeah.
And Carlos Hyde, who I was expecting to do his token, score a lot of points in week 1 and 2 and then disappear, barely appeared. So and didn't score a touchdown. He did walk away with 13.7 points, mostly because of catches. But out of those three, who are you keeping, who are you trading, and who are you cutting?
Okay, so I am probably keeping Miller because I believe that he can still be productive in that offense. Not great, but productive. Especially if Deshaun Watson can prove to be valuable as a running quarterback. I think that could help to open up some things for Miller in the running game. I am cutting Gurley and trading Hyde. And if I could, I would cut all three of them because I think that Hyde will have personally. I think that Hyde has a little more value. Even in the well, I mean, they both play in the NFC West, so I mean, I don't know. I don't like either one of them. I want to cut all three, but I can't. So, neither one of them perform well, but I think that Hyde was able to catch the ball in the backfield a little bit better. So yeah, I'm cutting Gurley and trading Hyde.
Yeah, I would be keeping Miller. I would be trading Gurley because I think he still has the name that people like. There's a ton of people that are keen on him, which I don't see. A lot of other fantasy football podcasts have talked about this being a breakout year for him.
No.
In a new offense. I don't see it. But the reason why I would look to cut Hyde is I still can't get out of my mind all of the preseason communication about how he is the slowest, most out of shape, least athletic person in the backfield throughout preseason. And that, to top off, I was already not keen on him coming in. And then that information, I still want no part of Carlos Hyde.
Yep.
And so getting on to our second to last one, or last one in the running back category, these ones are interesting because these are all backups.
Okay.
So which backup's going to provide most value? We're going to go with Tolbert, who's the backup for Shady McCoy. We're going to go with Buck Allen, who is the backup to Terrence West. And then Charkandrick West, who is the backup to Kareem Hunt. Which of these three are you looking to keep, trade, and cut?
We're cutting Tolbert.
Really?
Yes, we're cutting Tolbert.
Even with the backup to McCoy over the last 3 years being flex relevant late in the season.
Yeah, but none of them were named Mike Tolbert.
None of them were as wide as they are tall.
Yeah. Tolbert's ability to take on that kind of a role past 4 years ago. He's more of the bowling ball fullback type that is not going to be able to fill that kind of a role if McCoy goes down, to be completely honest.
Where I want to debate with you on that is Shady McCoy gets vultured a lot in the red zone.
True.
By big guys, which is where a lot of Gillislee's value came over the last couple of years. And that's where, frankly, where Gillislee's value was Thursday night against the Chiefs last week.
Well, and Carlos Williams a couple years ago. So
yeah, and so that's where I don't know if I would cut Tolbert. I would go with somebody else, but I'll let you finish out.
I will cut Tolbert. No, you can't convince me there. I will cut Tolbert. I will. It was Charkandrick West, and who was the other one?
Buck Allen.
And Buck Allen. I will keep Buck Allen for PPR, and I will trade Charkandrick West.
Okay. I did forget about one wide receiver one here on the list. All, once again, kind of the number 2 or brand new to their team.
Okay.
In terms of wide receivers.
All right.
None of them really had a great first week. We're going to go with Eric Decker, Zay Jones, and Mike Wallace. Eric Decker and Wallace obviously having historically being good values in fantasy football. Mike Wallace has been a top 20 receiver in fantasy 7 of the last 8 years. Decker was one of the best number 2 receivers, borderline number 1 when healthy, obviously recovering from a leg injury. And then there is the popular Zay Jones, who has been lights out in preseason with all of the attributes to be a number 1 as a rookie. Who are you looking to keep? Who are you looking to trade? Who are you looking to cut?
All right. Zay Jones, Decker, and Mike Wallace. Well, I'm cutting Mike Wallace because of his quarterback. That should be enough right there. So now it's between Decker and Zay Jones. I trade Decker and keep Zay Jones.
Is that because of the name that Decker still brings?
I think so. They showed in that game, Mariota targeted Corey Davis 10 times, and he played limited snaps. He only played like 40 snaps. So,
but he is a monster.
Corey Davis will be So Corey Davis will be the passing option in that offense. So I think that Decker's limited. I think that Zay Jones, given a little more time, will develop into the top wide receiver option there. But I mean, he is a rookie. He's still learning the offense. So for me, I'd go that direction. So
Decker did get 8 targets. But I didn't look at. I wasn't able to take a look and see what all of those 8 targets look like. I mean, Peterson did get 1 target Thursday night, but it was thrown to the ground 4 yards in front of him. He was the closest guy to him, which is why he got a target. So who knows how good of those targets were? But he was targeted 8 times, 3 catches for only 10 yards.
Okay.
And Davis 6 catches for 69. So now we get to the funnest one of them all: 3 big names at tight end. And yes, you do have to cut one of these.
Okay.
Gronk, Reed, and Olsen. In a lot of leagues, these guys went 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, and 4, or 1, 3, and 4. All of these guys were gone in the top 4 in almost every draft on every platform. And none of them really had a great week 1. Who
No.
are you looking to keep? Who are you looking to trade? Who are you looking to cut?
Okay. I am looking to man, you got 2 injury-prone guys and one guy that his value really almost kind of depends on his quarterback who has a bump shoulder.
Who has been a consistent value, or I should say, not necessarily value, but a shining light of consistency.
Yes. Oh gosh, I probably. Oh man, I cut Jordan Reed, I trade Gronk, and I keep Greg Olsen.
Really?
Yes. I keep Greg Olsen again because of the consistency. I think he will still, give Cam Newton's shoulder a couple more weeks to fully recover, and he will be again the number 1 or number 2 target for Cam Newton. And if Cam Newton goes down, he usually ends up being Derek Anderson's number 1 target.
Yeah.
So
I would go differently there. I would keep Gronk because no one else in the league is going to shut him down like Kansas City did. He's going to play a few weak defenses. He's going to go up against the Jets twice. He's going to go up against the Dolphins twice, who over the last couple of years has been one of the worst teams to defend the tight end. So I think they're already, and he's playing the Saints, Nick, this week. I'm talking possibly 2 touchdown, big bounce back game. Reed's injury concerns make him my cut, and I would look to trade Olsen and the value because I just don't see – I'm trading on name. I don't see the value there anymore. If they're going to continue to keep Newton in the pocket, I am still nervous. They utilized a lot of dump-off routes. There was one route to Shepard deep, which was converted for a touchdown.
it wasn't even deep. It was only like 15 yards, and
The 15-yarder that I could have tackled the guy better.
Yeah.
Poor tackling by deep coverage players, and I still can't get that image out of that poor corner who got absolutely trucked by Atlanta Falcons' Austin Hooper.
Yeah, that was a good one.
He basically buried him into the ground.
So yeah, I think for me, going back, I hold on to Greg Olsen because I think, again, consistency. I think he will bring that back. I trade Gronk to get whatever value I can out of him, knowing that he is going to be Tom Brady's top option, and with the feeling that he can't ever. Let's go through the laundry list: 3 back surgeries, a torn ACL, a shoulder surgery, a punctured lung, and a broken rib.
Is that it?
Over his career. I'm waiting for about week 5 or 6 when he goes down again. So
okay, well, now let's get into some matchups and some previews of games going in. We may not get as deep into these as we wanted based off of time. But with the Thursday night game, Houston at Cincinnati, I don't know if Cincinnati could be as bad as they were, but they are going up against another good, sound, and solid defense in the Texans. In this game, who do you like? Who are you concerned about? And of fantasy-relevant players, who are you looking to possibly sit in this game?
All right, so I'm still starting AJ Green because he's a beast, and Dalton will continue to just pepper him with targets. I'm going to somewhat still continue to avoid the Bengals backfield, just because there is no clarity there yet. I'm avoiding Tyler Eifert just because I think he's an injury risk. I don't draft Tyler Eifert. If you've got him, you've got to start him. But I'm avoiding that for now. I just don't like it. If he's your only tight end option or your best tight end option, well, you've got to go with it. They are at home, so that'll help. As far as the Texans go, DeAndre Hopkins had 16 targets in that first game. They are going to pepper him with targets. And now with C.J. Fedorowicz out, C.J. Fedorowicz, when he went out halfway through the game, had 4 catches for like 40 yards. And so he was getting targeted like crazy. So I think with Deshaun Watson, he likes to target the tight ends and the one big receiver. Because he had, Jordan Leggett and Mike Williams at Clemson. Those were his 2 main targets. Well, he also had Kane and a couple other guys, but I mean his main focus was Leggett and Williams. So I think I still don't like it's Ryan Miller, whatever their second tight end is now that CJ is out for the Texans. So I think that really I'm avoiding Deshaun Watson again. Let him get a little more time. Honestly, go with Nuke, and I'm still not sold on Miller. If he's one of your top, I mean, I'm fine with Miller as, say, a running back too. So, but that's better.
This is going to be an ugly game. To cover the Bengals again, the only back that I would look to try and involve or start, obviously in the flex position, would be Gio Bernard, because he was most utilized in the passing game. And by most utilized, he got a catch for 39 yards and was able to break something loose.
Yeah.
Mixon got 3 catches for 15. Gio did the most with what he had, so that's where I'm leaning there. I'm not looking to start Andy Dalton in this game because Houston has good defense. Due to interceptions, Jacksonville had to start with a lot of short field, which I think is what ate into Houston's defense. I don't look for that to happen again this week with the Bengals taking it away from the Texans. Getting into Houston, I don't start Deshaun Watson either. I'm even nervous about starting Lamar Miller. I mean, there's already been reports about Donta Foreman getting more involved. Granted, 1 carry and you said you're getting more involved could mean 2 carries. But Lamar Miller, over the last 2 years, he still was running back 2 last year.
Yep.
But you don't feel good about that.
No.
So this may be, if you have nothing better, start him in a flex position, or start him at a running back and gives you more flexibility later in your week to maybe put in receivers or whatever in your flex stuff.
Yep.
But I'm really nervous there. DeAndre Hopkins at this point out, as much as I did not like him, he had 16, like you said, he had 16 targets. The rest of the team had 20.
Yeah.
So they're looking DeAndre Hopkins' way all the time, and this is what you are needing to see in order to see DeAndre Hopkins' fantasy value be there.
Yep.
Because when he was relevant a couple of years ago, it was because the Houston defense was without J.J. Watt and was behind and trailing in a lot of games, and they just had to throw the ball deep.
Yep.
Which is where his value came in. Now, they were behind early. They had to throw. Savage wasn't doing it. Deshaun Watson comes in and continues to throw the ball and gets a touchdown. I'm a little nervous that even with all those targets, he's touchdown dependent. So that makes me a little leery. But he is a starter. You drafted him high. He proved it in week 1. You got to start him. But I'm nervous about Lamar Miller. I don't start either quarterback in this game.
All right. Next game.
Next game, we'll go with Bills and Panthers.
Okay.
Obviously, I really like Shady.
Yep.
Obviously. I think you're going to continue to see McCaffrey get phased in. He's going to get 10 to 15 carries or 10 to 15 touches.
Yep.
I almost like Jonathan Stewart more, though this is a solid defense that they're coming up against. They do get him at home. But I'm not looking to start Kelvin Benjamin in this game because I just still do not trust Cam Newton to throw the ball. Kelvin Benjamin had 1 catch. I'm definitely not starting Funchess.
Funchess should be on the waiver wire.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things. I'm looking for a waiver wire pickup if Cam Newton's my quarterback.
Yep.
So it is what it is. It doesn't look good, but I like McCoy, maybe even a little Charles Clay, as much as that doesn't feel right, and Zay Jones. Those would be the 3 that I would look for in this game. And then the Bills' defense is one that I would start.
Yeah, I kind of like the Bills' defense. I mean, right now, after 1 week, the defenses are number 2 and number 3. The Bills have the number 1 rushing offense. They ran all over the Jets, but again, they're playing the Jets. So you start Shady. Tyrod Taylor is intriguing as a streaming quarterback for this week. I'm not taking Zay Jones this week. I think for right now it's still too early for Zay Jones. I want him on my team, but I'm not going to start him. How's that? And so Shady, Tyrod, and Clay as a streaming tight end. In terms of the Panthers, I'm still starting McCaffrey as a flex / running back 2, depending on what your league, how big your league is. I'm still starting Greg Olsen because you drafted him high there for a reason, and I think that at home Cam may feel a little more comfortable and be able to get him the ball. He's had another week under his belt, so so that's it for me.
Moving on to the Vikings and Steelers, this is an intriguing matchup because you have a very, very dominant defense in the Vikings going up against Roethlisberger at home. We all know, we talk about this all the time, that Roethlisberger on the road is not a starting quarterback, which he proved that this week. But at home, the fantasy points fluctuate the other way drastically. And so I would look to start him. I think these are bounce-back games for Martavius Bryant, for Lev Bell. I don't see Brown getting the same production he got last week. He may get it with a touchdown, but I don't see him getting as many yards because the Vikings are going to look to take away the deep pass. And Xavier Rhodes will be guarding Antonio Brown. So there's going to be much better caliber of defenders than what the Browns had, obviously. And so I look for big games. Obviously, Jesse James is someone that we've talked about to not play and to avoid a little bit on the waiver wire, let other people buy into that hype. On the flip side, I see Bradford having not quite the same game, but having a quality game, maybe around 240 yards, 2 to 3 touchdowns. If he throws the ball, I think Cook will get one of those touchdowns out of the air because of his versatility coming out of the back.
Yep.
I don't see Cook getting 100 yards in this game because the Steelers defense has done some things to add some personnel through the draft, through acquisition in the backfield. They're a different defense who we've talked about streaming from time to time. Granted, sometimes that's against the Browns. But this is an intriguing matchup because you have the staunch defense versus a guy who just chucks the ball around and gets plenty of fantasy value at home.
Well, and he has amazing weapons to give the ball to. So, okay,
Yeah.
So for me in this one, I'm probably playing Ben Roethlisberger. Again, it is at home. You're starting AB. You're starting Lev Bell. Martavis Bryant is a flex play max. We still haven't seen it. And remember, he had an entire season off. So if you're going to play him, he is no more than a flex, or a second flex if you have 2 flex plays in your league. Those are, really, you play the big 3 from the Steelers. That's it. In terms of the Vikings, I I cannot get over how much Bradford is targeting Adam Thielen. I think you play Thielen as a minimum wide receiver 3. I think he has wide receiver 2 upside. Diggs is a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside. Even though they've improved this defense, I think with Joe Hayden, who came over from the Browns on the Steelers, probably following Diggs, Thielen is going to be it could be highly targeted. And then with me, you're always looking to put, especially if you've got Bradford, Rudolph has value every week as a possible target in the red zone. So, and I could see starting Bradford. So.
We're going to go to the Bears and the Buccaneers. Not much to see in terms of the Bears. You really have the human joystick and the brother bear in this game as your 2 options, that being Tariq Cohen, for those of you who are listening for the first time, and the brother bear being Jordan Howard. For context, listen to previous episodes and you'll understand why we call him the brother bear. But I see both as fantasy relevant. I don't see another body on that roster as someone you would even remotely start. On the flip side, the Buccaneers are one of the teams that didn't play in week 1 because of the hurricane. So we don't have a lot of context for what they're going to produce this year. So with that being said, you have to continue to buy into what your pre-season values are. Obviously, you're looking to start the giant wide receiver out on the outside. You're looking to start Jameis Winston. The running back situation is what it is. Jacquizz Rodgers possibly looking to start. But other than that, I don't know if Brate's someone I'm looking to start. If I've got someone else, obviously you had to have somebody else on your roster for week 1.
He's a streaming option.
He's a streaming option. There's a lot of talk about Howard taking over there, which I don't necessarily see, but obviously until the season starts, we don't really know. No one saw Hunter Henry getting absolute zeros last night against Denver. So we just don't know yet. So I would look to start maybe your other streaming option, which may be valuable. A lot of people picked up a Coby Fleener, which could be a viable option against the New England defense that got torched. But what do you see in this matchup?
All right, so obviously Jameis Winston was drafted highly in a lot of leagues. So you're going to start Jameis Winston. You're going to start Mike Evans. I'm fine to start Cameron Brate in this game. I also am interested to see what Deshaun Jackson can do in this offense. But for now, I play Deshaun Jackson as a flex, and I would keep my eyes open to see what Chris Godwin does. I'm not playing him, but I want to keep an eye on what he could possibly do. He is a slot type receiver, possession type receiver, who is not afraid. He's a rookie out of Penn State who is not afraid to run those routes over the around, just behind the linebacker and get absolutely pummeled by a free safety. He'll take the hit and just stand up and look at you and say, "Yeah, I caught it anyways," and go back to the huddle. So he is that type of guy. So I'd be willing to see what he can do. Maybe watch him, put him on my watch list. But really, you're really wanting to start Jacquizz Rodgers, Jameis Winston, and Mike Evans with Deshaun Jackson as a possible flex. In terms of the Bears, it's the brother bear and it's the human joystick. You've got Howard and Cohen in the backfield. If you're desperate, Kendall Wright maybe to see what I think. Kendall Wright's more of a DFS option, as a value option to see what he could possibly do. But other than that, they really don't have much else, to be completely honest. It's really the 2 running backs is their offense. So,
going into the last game that we'll cover the rest in tomorrow's episode. But the Cardinals and the Colts as the next game to cover. For the Colts, this is ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking to be the worst team, and it's not close. I heard some conspiracy theories that were talking about that they're trying to replicate what they did when they were looking to offload Peyton Manning, and that they would keep their star quarterback on the side, and then look to trade him and get value
Suck for luck.
for that, and do the suck for luck 2.0, which we're 1 week in. Who knows? But with that being said, the quarterback class coming in has been already highly touted, but we'll stick to this season. I think this is a great comeback game and bounce-back game for a Carson Palmer who struggled against the Detroit Lions. This is now the Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, John Brown show. This is not really the Kerwin Williams show or the Chris Johnson AOL.com show. So I look for Carson Palmer to have a good game. If Jared Goff can throw for a ton of yards, Carson Palmer can throw for a ton of yards. And with the depth at wide receiver that Arizona has, the speed to stretch the field from John Brown, and the consistency of Larry Fitzgerald, I would look to not necessarily start John Brown yet, because still some sickle cell trait issues, but I would be okay with starting Palmer. Obviously, you're starting Larry Fitzgerald. And if you're in a pinch and you lost David Johnson, only then, if you're missing David Johnson, would you look to start a Kerwin Williams.
Yeah, and I think it's very possible they go running back by committee. If they're only just now bringing in Chris Johnson, I could see Kerwin Williams getting kind of splitting with Andre Ellington. But again, I don't believe in Andre Ellington. Haven't. Ever since they drafted David Johnson. David Johnson was, a bigger, stronger, faster version of Andre Ellington, who at the time didn't get injured all that often. So, I think you go with Palmer, you go with Fitzgerald. Brown, again, yeah, I'm with you. Maybe a flex play just because of the matchup. And then you go over to the Colts, and I guess you go with T.Y. Hilton, but he's the only option there. Or maybe, you stream Jack Doyle, maybe.
I wouldn't start either one because there's no set quarterback with Brissett yet, and there's no game film with the chemistry there. So I just don't trust it.
I still think you go with T.Y. Hilton. You drafted him high. He will be the number one receiving option. So unless that's proven otherwise,
the Cardinals' defense at the corner position is deep and talented.
True. And so is T.Y. Hilton. So but that's in terms of offense, that's the only way I'm going.
We'll agree to disagree because to me, T.Y. Hilton disappears without Luck. Luck has not returned and hasn't proven the ability to do anything with any of the backups. So that's where I'm looking to do something else. I'll play him if I absolutely have to, and I've got nothing on depth.
I'm doing it because it's at home.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
We did have someone come in on Facebook. Minnesota at Pitt, what do you think? From Duran Smith. Thank you for the question. We're right here at the end. We just covered it. It will be available on the podcast tomorrow towards the latter half of the episode, but we're coming here right on the hour, and we just covered it, so don't want to repeat what was just covered. But thank you for the question coming in. Ryan, how about you wrap us up and send us off?
All right. Again, for Justin, my name is Ryan Sculler. This has been the Skull King Fantasy Football Podcast. We hope that you will join us again tomorrow night as we cover the rest of the games. Again, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys later. Hey, Skull King Nation. Thank you for listening to the Skull King Football Podcast. Did you like this episode? If so, be sure to go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube to subscribe. Also, please leave us a rating and reviews to let us know how we can better help you rule your leagues.